1 minute.
Thank you, George.
Shut my phone off. Speaking of 1 minute. Yeah, I forgot to shut my phone off when I was poll watching.
Oh.
It's 9:30. I hereby call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Quarterly reports, third quarter 2025, quarterly reports. Council, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a couple of comments. The quarterly reports are a great snapshot of what happened in that quarter. Over the last 2 years, I've occasionally asked for data to be collected, expanded, and included, such as when we decided to track the deer carcasses that we pick up versus all other types of carcasses, and that data has been very valuable in understanding the need to control our deer population. In a few cases, we need more specific raw data, not just the percentage of increase or decrease or rate of occurrence. The raw data really tells the true story. A good example, and I'm not trying to pick on the police department here, but a good example is that where they report traffic enforcement, they have warnings 67% and citations 33%. And what that tells me is that the officer making a traffic stop is not giving a citation at every traffic stop, only at 1 out of every 3. But what it doesn't tell me is how many traffic stops are there. Are there 6,000 and 2,000 get citations? Are there 600 and 200 get citations? Or were there just 3 traffic stops and only 1 got a citation? So if we could include the raw data for something like that, it would be very valuable. I'd also like to ask each department to please give the data and the raw data and then relate it to trending up or down based on prior quarters or prior years. And if you go back in the reports for your department over the last 2 years or so, I've noticed a few things that used to be reported that are no longer reported that I kind of am missing. For instance, also at the police department, and I'm, again, not picking on them, but the raw data is something I'm very, I guess, tuned in on. Drug charges, they identified the total of 321 back in the third quarter of 2024. The DUI charges was 231, DUI drugs was 30, and underage DUIs was up 100%. Those types of numbers are no longer being reported in the quarterly reports, and I guess I'm a little fond of them with my law enforcement background, so when I see that those things were being reported but they're not now, it's like I'd like to see them come back. So maybe each department could look at what they're doing and reporting now and examine their reports over the last couple of years and see if more specific raw data could be incorporated and not just tell us if it's trending up or down since a prior quarter or prior year. Thank you.
So noted. Any other questions or comments? Council? Quarterly reports are included on our website, and they are very, very valuable. Public comment?
Yes, we have one person signed up to speak, Mr. Michael Sarapine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to come here and personally put a face to the email. My name is Michael Serpine, and I first want to, like I said to the mayor earlier, having been a city councilman up in Hartford, Connecticut years ago, congratulations to those that were reelected and those that have been elected. It's a nod of approval from your neighbors when you're reelected. It's very heartwarming, and I've been there, so congratulations to you as well. Just to introduce myself, I know I have 3 minutes. I'm trying to keep it very condensed. I'm from the Northeast. I can talk really fast as well, but I'm going to try and slow down. My name is Michael Serpine. I'm the owner of the wine bar, opening just on the other side of Willow Bend. Prior to this, I was in the Marines for 10 years, a medal recipient. We used to fly Marine One for the president. I'm an airline captain by trade. In 2010, I started studying wines, and in 2025, just back in March, I was certificated by the Court of Master Sommeliers in London as a sommelier. I'm opening the wine bar, and I travel all over the world. And I mean, South Africa, I was in Croatia for June and July, came home just last week from Umbria, Italy, and all my wines are personally selected for the wine bar. There's only 2 bottles that you're gonna find in my wine bar that you can get in the grocery store. Other than that, these are all hand-selected wines from around the world. And it was brought to our attention that we cannot sell unopened bottles of wine for those that want to come in, buy a nice bottle of wine, bring it home for a special occasion, for families, holidays. And when I started researching it, and my daughter, who's going in business with me, she's an attorney, she found out that the state allows you to do that, but there's an old ordinance here in Peachtree City that prohibits it, Section 6-113. And we were requesting that the city council review this and make it more in line with the state. Rather than me having to uncork a bottle, recork it for you to bring home, I'd like to preserve that bottle of wine for them and let them cork it on that special occasion rather than cork it and uncork it for them right here. So with that in mind, I'm just here today to personally request that you review the ordinance. And again, I think I include my phone number, my email address. I'm very approachable. I'd love to engage if you have any questions. Please don't ever hesitate to contact me either way. And again, thank you so much for this time. I felt well underneath my 3 minutes, and I didn't want to overspeak. So thank you very much for the time to speak.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, I do apologize. There was a second speaker, Mr. Keith Larson.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of the council, city staff, and city residents. My name's Keith Larson. I represent Bike Walk Fayette, a community advocacy that looks at and addresses path and sidewalk and street safety matters for our pedestrians and bicyclists. But I'm also concerned about all kinds of micromobility. So in the last year, I had the opportunity to serve on the Transportation Advisory Group, where we knuckled down and got into the root of cause problems of why we have challenges on our path and street systems with so many devices. That's the best way to capture that. All these wickets and things. Well, came up with 2 sources of the problems. One, definitions of all of these categories of consumer products, vehicles, devices, not just in Peachtree City, but at the state level. The second part is speed management. Local communities, jurisdictions do not have the legal authority to lower street speed limits below 25, nor do you have the authority to establish speed limits on shared use paths, explicitly absent from the Georgia Code. But with the growing shared use path network, we need to address that. We need to be able to ensure for our residents, the number 1 concern is speeding vehicles on our shared use paths. Number 2 is all these out of ramp control devices you're seeing. So let's get a handle on that. So I have been busy at the national level, at the state level, and cities around our country seeing how they're addressing the problem and set of micromobility. So I have crafted a proposal, enabling legislation entitled the Micromobility Traffic Safety Act. You have a copy of it, both digitally as well as in hard copy, and ask that Peachtree City consider taking a leadership position as they did in 1973, asking the Georgia legislation to enable the local jurisdiction to permit the use of motorized carts on your streets network. Peachtree City's preserved their rights as established in 73 later. Mr. Meeker participated in some of that legislation. Here's the third step, is this micromobility. We need local governments to pass resolutions of support to go to our Georgia legation to enable them to sponsor the bill. And it's comprehensive. It covers not only the definitions, but applies the devices to either bicycle law or to personal transport vehicles. Woolsey's on board, Tyrone's on board, Brooks on board. Will Peachtree City be on board? Thank you.
Thank you. No more public comment?
No, ma'am.
We have a presentation this morning from Mr. Milgraves at Retail Strategies. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Council, staff. Thank you for having me this morning. I'll try to be brief here, hopefully no more than 10 minutes or so to kind of go through this and then open it up for any questions that you all might have. My name's Milgraves. I'm your portfolio director with Retail Strategies. And as a reminder, we're an extension of you all as a community, particularly an economic development extension from a resource standpoint, also externally, basically representing the assets, the opportunities, the community narrative that Peachtree City has to those folks outside of this community in Georgia, the Southeast and beyond. So our specialty is national retail. We do focus on a lot of regional brands too as well. But today I would like to talk about kind of where we are in our partnership, really emphasize kind of what our role is and kind of where we've been placed in this community to serve staff, but also community retail decision makers, whether that's property owners, brokers, or developers. And then I'll talk a little bit about some marketing updates. We've got some exciting new things and some resources, even an additional one that even staff doesn't really know about. That we're going to start applying to the community in a greater capacity, and one that's focused more on some of the smaller vacancies, some of the smaller, not nationally centric type developments, and the local brokers to kind of support that effort. And then a brief overview on some attraction updates as well as next steps. So we have just finished up year 2 with our partnership with you all, and that means we're about to go into year 3. But what does that mean? So really, we are getting to know the community more intimately. A lot of what we do from a national standpoint are relationships that we develop with decision makers that are trying to find new sites for retailers, right? And so we have those established relationships. But understanding your market, understanding the opportunities that go on here, the discovery there, you all are the local experts. So we're in an ongoing discovery period with this community. And so a lot of year 1 and going into year 2, a lot of that is really refining that. Who are we doing outreach to? What does the community want from a retail standpoint, from a restaurant standpoint? And then how do we connect the dots? And so year 2 was a fruition of a lot of that, and a lot of progress too as it relates to having some economic development staff on deck that we can utilize and be that local expert, be that local communication point of contact that can let us know, hey, there's a vacancy that's come up, or hey, this business is coming in. Because whether we're a part of it or whether it's just new investment in the community, that helps sell this community and the opportunities that we've identified. So as we go into year 3, we are at maximum exposure, right? So we feel like we're getting into a rhythm, we have momentum, we have a lot of great conversations going on, and there's ongoing dialogue and communication with staff about what we need to be focused on. And that input's ongoing. I do want to emphasize, just because we have some brand new marketing imagery on this stuff as it relates to the retail recruitment timeline. And it's something that is always in the back of our minds, but it's a good refresher for the public sector, but also leadership and staff to understand how long some of these decisions make, particularly on the national side. It's competitive, particularly as land costs, development costs, the availability of space. All of those things are barriers and headwinds to the site selection process for these folks. And so we have to focus on what we can influence, right? We don't own the asset. We aren't a part of the negotiations for the most part. But where can we influence that, right? And so it's about having some of those relationships all the way at the national level, all the way to the local level. So we call those tenant representatives, brokers that represent these brands to help find locations and expand in Georgia. And we help arm them with information they don't know, right? If they want to do 10 locations, what makes Peachtree City unique from a market analysis standpoint, but then also what's the inventory? And what are the headwinds associated with that? What's the history with a particular space? Why was it not leased last year? Why is it a deal opportunity now? Those are the kind of things that we can help bring to light and identifying those. And then, of course, the development process and partnering with the community. And then also giving the community the information to help sell this stuff to local prospective entrepreneurs and businesses that are going to open up as well. So we focus on what we can influence, right? We wish we could, own the property, be the developer, be the retailer, get them in here. But with your help, everything that's kind of highlighted in green there is something that we're working on together. So we have two new resources, one of which complements your all's partnership with Placer AI very well from a mobile data collection. As you can imagine, every month, every week, every day, we're being bombarded with the updates and the evolution of kind of technology and really AI as it relates to our industry. And so Calibrate is a location intelligence tool. And our goal is to not only better understand this market, the trends, how well existing businesses are doing year over year and what those trends are, and how can we articulate that to the business community, but also prospective investors. But it really shows where your competitive edges are, right? So we have actual health on retailers in different corridors, and kind of the image you're seeing on the left is the avenue and really what the 70% capture area at a block group level looks like in a heat map for folks that are visiting there. And it's close to 4 million visitors, 4 million plus visitors a year, which is up from last year based off tracking. And so you can look at the individual businesses within the avenue, but then also the shopping center as a whole. How does it compare to other centers across the state, across the metro Atlanta region? And that allows us too to say, hey, if this business can thrive in that location, it should be able to thrive here. And that's one of the challenges with the South Side communities. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes to Alpharetta, a lot of stuff that goes to Duluth, Sandy Springs, Johns Creek, right? And so convincing a lot of these tenant reps and restaurants that you can come down here and you can be successful if we can find you space, right? The other resource that I want to bring to light that's very new to us, but one that we're applying in collaboration with the communities is Resquared. And essentially what this is an AI-driven proprietary database of small businesses, property owners, entrepreneurs, investors, and it really is just that extra outreach effort that you can do on a campaign for a particular property, for a particular space and a market. And so in addition to that local broker, in addition to the economic development team, in addition to developers, in addition to us, we have another component that's going to be a campaign that'll push out properties to try to generate interest and give us reports on who looked at that, who's kind of taken an interest in this market, and are they people, warm leads that we can call on and connect the dots with those local property owners. Last time I was in the market with you all presenting and giving you updates, we're always looking at kind of how do we define this market, right? Do we talk about it in city limits? We do not. We talk about it in drive times. We talk about it in radius, particularly what retailers are looking for with their criteria. But custom trade area is really what we see is like, this is, if you open a business here, this is your potential capture area. This is what we can say 70 to 75% of consumers that shop in this market in the different retail nodes, this is where they're coming from. And it's an extensive geography, as you guys know. I've worked in this part of Georgia for a long time and have always kind of known kind of the relationship between the different communities. My wife's from Noonan, so my mother-in-law's there. I know that she's excited that Trader Joe's is here and she's going to come over this way. The folks in Noonan are like, oh no, are we ever going to get a Trader Joe's now, right? And so there's a lot of consumer relationship and dynamics that go on here. The one thing with our new data compared to kind of what it looked like last year when we were promoting this is that it's up almost 20,000 from a population standpoint with this analytics, right? So as we analyze different nodes, whether it's Kedron Village, whether it's Braylon, whether it's the Avenue, and trying to put that all together, it's a larger population, it's a larger household. And so I just gave an update to Macon yesterday, Macon-Bibb County. That trade area is as large, if not larger, than Macon's trade area, right? So as a secondary city in this state, your all's capture area is comparable. Another one would be Johnson City. And so peer benchmarking is something we do all the time. Like, what are communities that we work with, that we have worked in, that have different brands that you all don't have, right? And then we're able to look at that at particular end users. Placer AI has some of this data as far as cross-shop, but this helps us to understand what types of retailers have the market share, whether it's grocery, whether it's restaurants, and that too allows a lot of other prospective businesses to look at this to say, well, I think I could be successful because this is how many of the consumers are shopping at that particular brand, right? I think your all's Kroger at Brayland is 18 out of about 150 in the Metro Atlanta DMA. All of your stores perform very well. I think that's a strength that we don't have to worry about, that in a lot of communities we work in, we see a lot of great potential and underserved market potential there, but it's, poor performance by a particular store, or a shopping center doesn't do as well. And a lot of retailers will look at that and say, well, if they're not doing well, we might not be able to do well, right? So this is something that you guys score high marks on, continues to be a strength for the community. I'm not going to go too much into this because no matter how we slice it, no matter where I go, outside of a drive time, if it's a custom trade area for any of these shopping centers and end users, you all still have market demand. There is still unmet household dollars that are not being captured by the existing businesses here. And so one thing that we look at this is, that's great to look at this from a standpoint of, hey, if I wanted to open a hardware store or some sort of boutique, like, could I be successful here? Yes. We look at more from the standpoint of, how do those dollars translate to square footage, and then also what sectors are doing well right now in trends. And the big focus for this community from day one was entertainment, restaurants, higher elevated restaurants, grocery, and really every sector of restaurants outside of quick service, no fast food, right? So full service is a big thing. And so if you look at this is something that we can dig into more. I think it's somehow you all are still having a gap in grocery. You have a lot of grocery and it's still competitive. There are still a couple grocers that we're talking to. But these are one step that we identify opportunities in the market. And for us too, if somebody's thinking about opening a business and approaching the city, this is a great way to tap us to say, hey, we can prove and validate that there's an opportunity that will be successful here. We have to look at the competition in the market too, but we know that the household demand is here, and tying all that together. So y'all have had a lot of new investment over the last couple of years, particularly as it relates to some incremental small business investment, stuff like partners, going into the new project, the mixed use project. You've had some national wins as well. Some of the ones that we've influenced are there on the left as far as us providing outreach to the direct retailer, the franchisee, the tenant rep, or the people that actually own the asset and are trying to lease it up. The ones that we were most predominantly involved in from day one were the Books A Million, Trader Joe's Swaparoo, the tenant shuffle that occurred in the market. And so we continue to have a lot of interest from full service brands, which I'll talk about in a minute. So restaurants is really your all's biggest focus for us right now. I'm not going to read all of those to you all. You all have more strengths and opportunities than weaknesses and threats. What I'll say is there's not a whole lot of land for us to develop on. So annexation is an opportunity that we see. One of the challenges that we see with Highway 54 project that has about 50,000 square feet of retail proposed in it, the timeline for that, just, trying to get that local developer to move that forward, and, us trying to bring enough interested tenants at the same time and to help promote that property in a way. Just the timelines with that have been a huge challenge, right? And so assembling land, redeveloping land, and rezoning land is a challenge in this market, right? I think you guys understand that, and that could prevent some of the opportunities that we may be trying to facilitate and connect the dots. Outside of that, this is a great market, right? There's a lot of reasons to be here and a lot of reasons why people want to be here. Another thing that I'll mention on opportunities too is Trilith. We've actually in the last 3 to 4 months have gotten phone calls from folks that have either been pushed our way from Trilith or had interest in Trilith, and we've been able to kind of pull it this way based off some interest that we've had from the development side in the last 6 months. So that's a great opportunity for us. We want to build off that as much as we possibly can to capitalize for the Peachtree City market. I've mentioned a lot of these different sites. Obviously, Willow Bend is one that will focus. So some of the smaller shopping centers, locally owned shopping centers, we're focused on. Bridger is a leasing and property management company that has a lot of your all's great assets in the market. They are an incredible team. In the last year, they have grown tremendously. They are great collaborators with us, and I think great collaborators with this community. And so it's been a pleasure to work with them and really align what we're hearing with what they're doing on outreach side, as well as give them the data that we have. We we spend anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 a year on our data packages that, our vendors that we have. And so if you're a brokerage, that's a big overhead, right? And so they really lean on us to capitalize on some of that data, how we're seeing the market, whether it's just a void of tenants or, hey, we went to a conference last quarter and we know that these 10 prospects have interest in this market and here's who we need to follow up with, right? One thing at Braylon, which has been a great success story, I think when we were hired a couple years ago, that was obviously, I think the pickleball concept was in the works, right? But you still had the vacancies were an issue. I think that was the primary reason we were getting pulled into this market, and that's been a success story. The former bank branch in the out parcel, we're working closely with the developer that bought that recently, and we work with them with other markets across Metro Atlanta and Georgia. And so we've had interest from a couple different concepts, restaurant-wise, that have looked at Braylon and opportunities there in the past and haven't been able to find anything. So we're hopeful that we can secure something with them early next year to get a deal going. There's a lot of activity with the existing assets you have. And if you had asked me 2 years ago, we're going to be this busy with what you have from an availability standpoint, I've been like, no way, right? So we're happy from that standpoint that these assets that are existing continue to create opportunities, and we continue to connect the dots for some of the folks that are involved in them. And then from a development standpoint, Carriage Lane is one that we've identified with staff as an opportunity, as a potential assemblage, a mixed-use opportunity. We've been approached over the last year by a number of developers that have been either driven here by a tenant or want to find anywhere from 3 to 5 acres to do a project, right? And to get those end users, mostly restaurant focused, to this market. And so we have, earlier this year, we refreshed kind of our recruitment strategy from a prospect list, and it was tied to a couple of these sites, and specifically who we think could be highest best use end users and possibilities for those. And so the Carriage Lane area in particular, we've had 2 developers kind of go through an LOI exercise with that property owner. We're still working on that. It's a numbers game for us. Pressure, reps under pressure are really kind of get something happening there, I think. But the good news is we have a laundry list of developers that want to take a look at that. And so, as I mentioned before, full service, limited service restaurants are really our focus for a lot of this. We are talking to a couple different specialty grocers. One would only take existing space, so they're kind of out of the equation. The other 2 are emerging brands, both very new. One's more of a bodega, and so those could kind of fall under that specialty grocery sector that we're going to continue to promote this market and the opportunities that we have.
What do you mean by bodega?
So if anybody's ever been to New York, like every corner kind of has what they call a bodega. It's like a little kind of mini grocery store that has sundries, and you can probably get some wine and beer and maybe a sandwich. And so I think the closest, like what we have in Metro Atlanta would be Savvy Provisions is a brand that qualifies as a bodega. I think there's one in the airport, if anybody frequents the airport often. So there's more of those types of concepts that we're seeing emerge regionally that are having some success, just because it's expensive to build a grocery store, the margins are slim, it's very competitive in that market, and so a lot of communities, whether it's rural, suburban, or urban, are in desire of something in between, right? And so that's kind of a call to that private sector demand, or the consumer demand, of that, filling that niche gap, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
So where do we go from here? We just finished up a big conference in mid-October. Just so you know, our conferences these days aren't so much lead generators as they are more relationship building, being seen, maintaining the relationship with the tenants and the developers. And that's kind of evolved over the last couple of years as there's more conferences that we're going to, and it's less just 1 or 2. And so ICSC is our big one, our big organization that we're heavily involved in. Our president is on the board of trustees, and then Retail Live is another one. And so there's about 2 Retail Live shows that we represent Peachtree City at every year. One either in the Carolinas or the Florida, and then one in Nashville. And then ICSC Southeast is in the fall, October, so that was just a couple weeks ago. And then we have our big show in Vegas, which is kind of our Super Bowl from the standpoint of we're going to see how the sales are for all these retailers, for restaurants from a growth standpoint for 2025 wrap up this quarter. And then they're going to make some big announcements about what they want to do for 2026, 27, 28, right? And so we find out kind of in May of 26 where that pipeline is, right? Are they really progressing? What are the challenges? And so our year kind of cycles on those updates from that standpoint. And you know, we're probably going to be following up with a lot of our Peachtree City engagement from mid-October through the rest of this month until things kind of shut down. So we've got a summary review that we'll go through with the ED team, and then it's an update from a standpoint of redoing your all's benchmarking from a peer analysis. And so we do that every year as a refresh, just because there's new projects that we might want to tie in with your all's existing active projects or existing assets. And so we'll do that as well as the data update, and then probably a retail strategy refresh from a standpoint of we've gotten feedback from these 25 to 30 prospects. This is where they stand. These 10 are a no-go. We need to focus on these 15, and here are 5 to 10 new concepts that we need to focus on as well in outreach. And then probably, you know, this is a market that we're close. Like I'm in Atlanta, so I can get down to Peachtree City quite often. I'd love to see a little bit more engagement with the community early next year, and working with the staff, particularly now that we have Resquared on board. And I think that's going to be a great tool to get in the hands of doing some outreach campaigns for some of the other spaces that are not necessarily nationally focused, which our team is focused on. So with that, I'll open it up with any questions. I just want to thank you all for your partnership, for your time this morning. It's been a joy so far to work with this community, and I look forward to continue to bring you guys some more wins.
Thank you. What does that community engagement look like that you just now mentioned?
That is up to the community. So we love to get in the community and educate, particularly the business community, and let them know that we're a resource. So a lot of the folks that we're dealing with on behalf of this market, most of them are in Atlanta or beyond, right? And so we want to educate on kind of how this works from our standpoint, what resources we have available, because all of that's free to this community, whether you own a piece of property, whether you're going to open a business. So tapping into that resource is something that I think we could take more advantage of in year 3.
Thank you. I would be thrilled to see something come in the former Bank of America location down at Braylon. You've got something in the cooker?
Yeah, developers got it, and we're trying to align prospects.
Great. Council?
Oh, I just appreciate the information. A lot of the questions I had you answered during that, and I appreciate that full-service restaurants are your focus. I was at my son's Thanksgiving feast just yesterday talking to parents, and that was brought up, the desire of more full-service restaurants here. So I feel like that's on point, so thank you.
It's really a demand that we see in every community. You all are fortunate to have kind of the household demographic to support that. The real challenge is that there's just not enough operators out there, right? And staffing's a big issue. The margins are a challenge, and so that's been one of the biggest challenges for us, is really trying to get those prospects to the table. And we have one that really is interested in Highway 54, but they're also a franchisee for a huge territory, a territory beyond, you know, what they should have. And so trying to get them focused and align that with that actual development, you know, which I believe it still has trees on it, right? It's not cleared. Justin, the Highway 54? Yeah, they don't have a land disturbance permit yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't
So-
started clearing.
So it's just aligning a lot of that and making sure that we can keep Peachtree City top of mind, right, with those needs of that project.
Council, any other questions?
I'm going to speak on behalf of the citizens and all of what I read on social media. Please just don't bring us another fast food chicken place.
I've got orders. I've got orders for
Except
staff.
for Raising Cane's.
Yeah, Raising Cane's is on
Raising
there.
Cane's.
Yeah, yeah,
KFC.
yeah. We
You see?
in
That's how it
our
happens.
in our database of outreach and prospects and everything, you all do not have any QSRs on there. It's just not a focus for this community, and we've heard that from day one, and we've really tried to focus on the things that the community deserves and we know that the community can support, and a lot of it's just around timing, available space, and do we have a project we can put them in, and you know, development's a challenge, as you all know. So I think we're headed in the right direction, but we certainly appreciate your leadership and your input, and thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've got a couple of questions for you, Mel.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. This is good. I'm glad that we've got people working on this type of retail side of the of what was empty buildings when I first came on council. So it's really nice to see those. So thank you for that work. I've got a couple of specialty things that I want to speak about. Number one is the grocery industry. Living in the northeast part of the United States for quite a bit of my life, there was a chain up there called Wegmans. And they're coming south. They're in North Carolina now. They're right at the border.
Yeah.
I would love to see Peachtree City be their first Georgia location. The problem is they're going to build their own store, and they got to have a number of it. They got at least to have a 5-acre or more spot. Can you say anything on that before I go on to the second topic?
I can say that they are not one of the grocers that was on your all's list.
Okay.
But Wegmans is a group that we work with in our Carolinas and our Virginia, and you know, their footprint over the last, I want to say, maybe 8+ years, they've really pushed to the south, right? And
Yes.
they've kind of stopped and stalled in North Carolina. But, you know, the beauty about what we do is that we're tied, like me and my team are tied to a region, right? We're focused on Georgia, and we have other teams that are focused on other states, right? And so when we do our powwow every week about what's going on in other markets, other regions, you know, what are the updates? And, you know, we're gonna be the first ones to know if Wegmans is making a push, right? And so, you know, that's one thing that if we're partnered, you know, we can keep that top of mind when we hear that kind of information.
And I'm just happen to be partial. I'm
Oh yeah,
it's
they're
great. It's a great
brand.
store. I think this community will embrace it hugely. So the second one is Whole Foods, of course. That's always a nice one. More of a niche type grocery store here, if I can call it that. There's always been people barking in my ear saying, "We need a Whole Foods here. We need a Whole Foods here."
Yeah.
I'm sure that that's on your list also. I know you can't say a lot, but I'm sure it's on
I
your
didn't
list.
say anything.
Yep, okay. All right, then I'll get off the grocery store
Yeah,
side and
yeah.
I'll just ask you a couple questions about
Sure.
ethnic style. Now, ethnic style could be almost anything, but I would be looking at more of the higher end ethnic style. For instance, we have some wonderful Italian restaurants here. I'll use as an example with Carrabba's and an Italian oven. We've got some good restaurants here. They're Americanized Italian food.
Yeah.
But if you want the real deal, just picking on that particular ethnicity, you got to go to Atlanta to get some really down-home Italian food in Georgia.
Yeah.
And even that sometimes is, you got to go all the way to New York to really get the real deal. But that would be something I think that our city would embrace, is that higher end. We did have one, but it moved out. It went over to Noonan. But I can see that as one of the
Which one was that?
ethnicity. Borgo
Okay,
Village.
yeah.
Yep. And they were good. Food was good. It was more authentic than the Americanized Italian food. And I'm not denigrating the Italian foods that are Americanized. I go to them myself. But I just missed that, having lived in big cities around the United States. And I got to go to Atlanta to get that.
Yeah, so I think that Resquared partnership that we have now is something that, you know, could be an opportunity to explore that. The one thing that we are able to do is a lot of the restaurateur and, you know, unique boutique concepts that maybe only have 3 or 4 locations in all of Metro Atlanta, they're represented by the big firms in Atlanta. And so when we meet with them, like met with the broker for Mr. O1 Pizza, which, you know, opened a couple locations. They're in like Florida, I think they're in New York. I mean, it's a really cool concept, right? You know, trying to push those types of brands in addition to restaurateurs, like you're saying. I think there's 2 strategies there: is to keep having conversations with those brokers and the tenant reps, and then it's also to use Resquared and some of our resources to identify, who those restaurateurs are, operators, are they looking to grow? If we can give them the information to the property owners or the leasing agents, we can do direct campaigns, right? And really start the hard pitch at the local economic development level. So
I will end by saying that I concur with Councilwoman Johnson that we do need more family-style,
yeah,
upgraded family-style restaurants here in the city, and I don't know if that's a category within what you market, but that certainly is something I know. I agree with her on that. We do need some more of those here in this area.
I agree.
Okay?
All right,
And
anything
I know you
else?
can't give us any names, but we'd love to hear them, though.
Anything else?
Nope, I think I'm done.
Thanks very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming in to touch base from time to time.
Appreciate it,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is agenda changes, Council.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to request that the 2 new alcohol licenses, which are new agenda items A and B, be moved to be done next before the work session discussion items.
Did you make a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, I make a motion to do what I just said.
Got it.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next agenda item is new agenda item A, 112501, new alcohol license, Ruka Sushi.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm putting myself in order
We
here.
pulled a fast one on you.
Okay, it's okay.
That's okay. Hold on. It's okay. All right. The applicant is Ruka Sushi, for the business, excuse me. The licensee and the license rep is Mr. Dayrit. He has met all requirements to be granted a business license at this location. And this is at the former Alchemist location.
All right. Questions? Can I get a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve item 11-25-01, new alcohol license, Ruka Sushi, on Highway 74.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. New agenda item B, 112502, new alcohol license, Pint and Play.
Yes, this is at the new Willow District, 302 Willow Bend. The applicant has also, Mr. Sutton, asked to be appointed as the licensee and the license rep, and all requirements have been met by the applicant as well as the location.
Council questions? Can I
Yeah.
get a
I have a question. I read in the notes here that they're going to be basically the people there can pour their own beer. Is that something that I misread, or is that something that, can you help me out and give me a little explanation on that?
The applicant is actually here. I'm not sure exactly.
Good
where
morning.
You read that.
My name's Kevin Sutton. So you can, it's a self-serve. You get ID'd when you come in. And there's several different options. You can get bracelets that, once you're ID'd, can turn it on. They can taste different beers, small pours, 16-ounce pour. But you can also swipe credit cards. So you have like a room key credit card at a hotel that you swipe their credit card, swipe that to where they're linked together, and they can go through. There'll be some wine also, so they could try different wines and stuff like that.
I love it. I think that's a great concept. Thank you for explaining, because it didn't get an understanding if, some young kid walks in.
No,
I want to get that.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get some beer
No,
and wine.
it'll
So
be
what you're
upset.
doing is you're basically checking them at the door.
Correct. And if they don't have that, whichever we decide to go with, whether it be bracelets or a card, if they don't have that, you can't access it. So you have to be 21 to be able to access it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item number 11-25-02, no alcohol license, Pint and Play on Willow Bend.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Work session discussion item A, consider the findings of the hearing officer and the ethics complaint against Suzanne Brown. Mr. Meeker?
Yes, the council's in receipt of the report from Jim Elliott. Under 6276, the council has a few options. One is to simply accept the findings and recommendations of the hearing officer. Two is to accept the findings of fact and reject the recommended disciplines, instead substituting your own discipline. There was no discipline, so,
Do we have Ms. Brown leave the room?
she can, but it's not mandatory. She's not participating. She doesn't count for quorum purposes.
All right. Do you have,
Yeah.
what's your pleasure?
Stay.
All right.
And then the last one really doesn't apply, given the fact that we only have 4 council members, because it requires a supermajority consisting of a majority of those present plus 1 to reject the findings and recommendations and either dismiss the complaint or conduct your own hearing. Those are the 3 options before council.
Okay.
Okay.
Counsel, I would go ahead and begin by stating I would be in favor of accepting the findings and recommendations of the officer.
I can make that quick. I would agree with you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. Councilmember Johnson?
Same.
Absolutely. Do we need a motion?
I'd go ahead and vote. I mean, you can vote on it.
Do we need a motion for it?
Yeah,
or just-
motion to
Okay.
accept the findings and recommendations of the hearing officer.
And you
Okay.
can say so moved if you'd
Okay.
like.
So moved. I like that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Work session discussion item B, Crabapple Gate counts. Justin Strickland.
Dates right. Okay. On December 19th of last year, City Council, you all voted to reopen the Crabapple Gate within the Kedron Hill subdivision to just cart traffic through the end of the summer of 2025. We are officially there. We're at the end of the summer. Council also instructed staff to obtain traffic counts of this entry, cart traffic counts, and then compare it to 2 other entries into Peachtree City that also require carts to drive through a neighborhood to get into the rest of the pass system. So staff chose to obtain counts from Ashcott Drive, which is within the Maple Shade subdivision, which is on the west side of 74. So western Tyrone residents come into western Peachtree City from that way on the other Crabapple Drive. And then we also selected the preserve, which is on the south side of the city. It connects to the unincorporated area of Fayette County, and to get into the pass system there, people actually have to drive through the preserve itself. And so we put flock cameras at all 3 of these locations, which are the cameras our police department uses to look at car traffic as well. So we were able to go in, our PD department worked on this really hard. They would go in every single week and look at all the images and count how many carts were coming through all 3 of these entrances. And I know that these numbers are kind of hard to see. If you want to turn around, you can.
Yep,
But
got 'em here.
I may even have to turn around. You see here, Crabapple, after 32 weeks, which is 8 months of collecting data, the average weekly carts that we saw coming through Crabapple was 162. The average weekly we saw coming through Ashcott was 273, and the average weekly we saw coming through the preserve was 358. And then I calculated a percentage of just how many more carts were coming through these other 2 than Crabapple. So Ashcott averages about 69% more coming through than Crabapple, and the preserve averages about 121% more than Crabapple. And then,
Hello.
we did produce this graph too that just kind of visually summarizes all the data collection. So as you can see, all the blue columns are the weeks of Crabapple. All the orange columns are Ashcott, which is the Maple Shade location. And then all the green columns are the preserve. And then we did a couple of trend lines with these as well.
Yep.
So we provided this data to you all. The motion you all did in December was to open Crabapple through the gate through the end of the summer. So we are there. So
For carts.
yes, for carts. And so it will be left to y'all. I think there is an action you will have to take to either close it back or leave it open indefinitely, because the motion was to just open it through the end of the summer.
Okay. Comments, questions from council members?
I have some.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Clint.
ladies.
My comment actually had to do with, I questioned Justin with the exact location of the camera that's, was at the preserve area. Because the preserve sits on the east side of Red Wine Road, but it is part of the city. So, there's a lot of people who live in there who go through the cameras, but they are city residents. But it's also right next to Wood Creek subdivision, which is huge, and they're not in the city. So I was, looking at the numbers, and there is a lot of people, especially with the way the paths were set up and stuff, who were having to go across there, like, en route to either Publix or to the school. So there's some confusion with some of that, but I was really shocked to see that that was the busiest of the three,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Comments?
Oh, well, I just know that this was probably a very tedious process that we've asked our police department to do. And this is very great data. It's really good to have great visuals. So it definitely helps us. So thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Holland?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for doing this. This is something that I had insisted upon. So let's just see what kind of number of carts are going to come in Crabapple Lane. I can tell you it's an average of 23 carts per day. You don't even notice the difference. I live on Loring Lane where all of the carts come by, and I can tell you just my opinion and my wife's opinion. I guess I shouldn't be talking about her, but certainly she says we don't notice any difference in the quantity of carts from our own neighborhood and those that come in from Crabapple Lane. So I think the analysis proved the point that it's a nothing burger. 23 more carts a day. Whoop-de-doo. And I don't think that's an issue. What I do want to make an issue of is not the volume that comes in, but I want to make an issue of, I've sat out in front of my yard and watched the carts come by. And just to see what kind of traffic we've had, particularly on weekends. And I do see some carts, I would say about 1 out of 5, maybe 1 out of 6 or 7 that comes by that doesn't have a Peachtree City sticker on the side of the cart. Now, I know that that's got to be something that the police have got to take care of. I'm not going to do anything. I just wanted to note that for the record, that may be something we want to look at down the road. Otherwise, I think the results there that came in are perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned.
And just, Councilman Holland, just to make you and I had talked about the sticker
Yes, we have.
situation, and I did reach out to Tyrone and inform them, and I believe they put it in the paper. Like they actually ran something in the paper
Yes.
saying, Tyrone residents, reminder, you need a Peachtree City sticker, because I did reach out to them.
Right, Eric Dow
As a
told me the
reminder-
same
as
thing.
a
So,
reminder,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely, it's been noted there. And the issue becomes, and I don't want to really get down a rabbit hole because we're pressed for time today, but maybe we ought to be looking at, what are we charging them? What are we really charging them? And should we be
Certainly
looking at
topic-
that maybe?
Certainly topic for another day.
Exactly, that's what I want to bring up. It's a topic for another day, Justin, and maybe we should look at what we're charging them, and if we made it more acceptable from a financial standpoint, we may not have an issue at all.
All right. So as far as the actionable item now might be that we move to just leave the gate open indefinitely. Do we need a motion for that, and can we do that today?
You don't need a motion. It's open.
Well, the motion, you can tell me, the motion in December was to leave it open through the end of the summer.
Right.
While we do counts.
Well, then, yeah, you could make a motion to continue and leave it open.
And can we do that today?
Yes.
Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion that we continue to leave the Crabapple Gate open until further issue.
Can we discuss this just a little bit?
Absolutely. Let me get a second.
I live in the neighborhood.
If
so
I get
You
a
go ahead.
second, then we can have the discussion.
Okay, I will second it.
Thank you. Further discussion?
I just wonder if we should make the actual motion on the next agenda. Because this is the first time it's come back, and it's a work session, and it gives the people of, our city the opportunity to come and weigh in. And so I think we all probably know the way that this will go, but I still think giving them the opportunity to come and be heard is important.
Would
If
you
they
like to,
so-
would you like to rescind your second?
Yes.
Would you like to rescind your motion?
Yes.
That's fine. I don't mind that. I think we know where it's headed.
I-
Right, I just,
Yeah.
I'll actually, as Laura brought it up, I think that would open it up to let people come and weigh in on the subject. It would also allow for a continued discussion, perhaps, that as those other neighborhoods that are being developed north of the Crabapple Gate continue to be populated, that we may have to readdress the issue somewhere down the road yet again. But
All right, so for now, that's our discussion. That's the end of our
Okay.
discussion for today, unless you have anything else you need to add.
Do we need a motion? to
No.
put it
No,
on
we're
the
not,
agenda?
because it'll be next time.
It's all set?
We're
Okay,
all set.
good.
it'll be an agenda item.
Okay. All right, work session discussion item C, council meeting date changes. Jasmine?
Good morning again, Mayor and Council. If you all remember, we previously discussed a change to the December meeting, starting the first meeting in December because of construction that was supposed to be happening in City Hall. That construction date has been pushed back to January 5th, but there are other things that come into play. So first, we want to know, do you want to continue to leave the December 5th meeting at 6:30 p.m. or move it back to 9:30? That's the first. Second, usually the second meeting in December is canceled because of the holidays and travel that council and staff typically have. So we do want to know from you all if you all would like to reschedule or cancel that second meeting in December or leave it as is. And then thirdly, due to January 1st falling on our first meeting, which is New Year's Day, City Hall is typically closed. And so we also need to know what date council is interested in rescheduling that meeting. Also remembering that on January 5th is the start of the construction, which will affect this room. So we do have a recommendation to possibly move that January 1st meeting to January 5th in the morning and ask our contractors to maybe start a little bit later. So I think I
Okay.
covered all three.
So first order of business, is it December 5th or 4th? The first meeting in December?
Fourth, I
Is the
apologize.
4th.
Yes.
Council, do you want to have it in the morning or the evening? What would you like to do?
For the morning.
We all know I hate morning meetings.
But you're a trooper, Suzanne. You are a trooper.
I made it today.
You did. Laura?
I will say I'm flexible, but could we also maybe consider meeting in the middle of those 2 dates on the 11th
Instead.
instead of the
18th.
first and the?
She's got an issue, the
Well,
first week.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly am flexible until the
So
18th.
what, do you want morning or evening of the 11th?
I mean,
Morning.
you know what I like. I like morning. But
Would that
Poor
work?
if we can
Suzanne,
do
she
the
likes to
11th, I will
do
be
it.
flexible to the evening.
There may be some wise decision-making going into splitting the difference and putting the meeting on the second week.
I don't mind that.
It
And then we
does
got
kind of
one
mess
meeting.
with people's, like,
Well, does it-
focus on the first and the
We've done that
third, but.
before.
And does it help the
We've
city
moved
give
it
y'all
Yeah,
a little bit more
exactly.
time? If we only have one meeting, might be better to have
Yeah.
it just a little bit later in
Because it
case y'all
won't be
have.
it won't be a work session. It will have all the items.
Right.
in
Well,
one
plus
meeting.
plus it doesn't, it means we wouldn't have like a full month until the next meeting.
Right.
So
All right, how about morning, Ms. Brown?
I'll go for the morning.
All right, so that answers question 1 and question 2. It'll be December 11th in the morning.
Okay, so we're moving it from the 4th to the 11th?
And then the third item is January, Jasmine's suggestion of the morning of Monday, January 5th. Michael, does that work for you? Yeah, in the morning. And then once we finish that meeting that Monday morning, then the construction crews would come in and start working in this room.
Let me ask, is there a reason why we couldn't do it before the first?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, is that a possibility?
I may be gone the week between.
Okay, I know it's a big holiday week
Yeah.
for staff too, so.
What about what about December 2nd? Why wouldn't we? Could we do it?
It
that
was so
Friday?
close to the holiday, I didn't know if people were still going to be traveling the next day.
Or I
Because
said
the first is.
January 2nd.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
January 2nd is the
Yeah.
Friday.
People
and
are
it's-
out, they're on family
Yeah,
trips.
school doesn't.
And a lot of
start
people
back
don't
until
come
I think
back till that Monday either,
Exactly.
so that's the 5th. So
Correct.
maybe we make it Tuesday, the
Yeah,
6th.
I may be gone on the 2nd.
The
But then
pro-
this
The
construction-
problem is then the construction is delayed by a full day
I see. Okay.
versus just a few hours of them starting late.
thanks for that
Versus a full day of
clarification.
missing.
If we could
Yep.
do Monday morning, January 5th, would that work for you, Ms. Brown?
Yes,
I know
I
you
can,
love
but I have one other thing that I was gonna like toss out there. It's like, are there things that would be on that agenda that we could move to the December meeting?
Yeah.
I mean, and Ted, is there a reason why we couldn't have Michael Polachek get sworn in at the December meeting?
That's what I'm just about to look at about when,
We better check with Michael Polachek.
Yeah,
It's kinda counting on
our
January.
ordinance says the first meeting
Right.
of the year.
yeah.
However, I don't know if you can swear someone in prior, because his official term doesn't begin until January
That's the
1st.
I thought
thing.
because it was an
I think the
open
term
seat.
doesn't start,
Correct.
Okay.
and we
I thought-
could just appoint him
Yeah.
to fill the unexpired term, but the problem is we have a full process that
Oh,
we're
never
supposed to follow
Yeah.
Okay.
in order to appoint somebody to an unexpired term.
My
Oh.
strong,
I was just trying to take something that would be
No,
on the
I-
agenda
I-
and move it to a different time frame.
Yeah.
my
And
strong,
obviously, we're not gonna move it later, so.
my suggestion would be Monday morning, January 5th.
Yep.
And then that means that our second meeting in the month of January is, as usual, the third Thursday, and
The
we've got an
22nd.
adequate gap in there.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody have a problem with the morning of January
I
5th?
I
It
have
would be
one
the-
more question.
The 15th, not the 22nd. The 1st and the 15th.
You're right.
Yes.
You're correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question. Is there, and you're gonna be surprised when I say this, is there a way to start the meeting earlier and let the construction guys get in here after we're done?
Okay,
Surprise. I'm
Staff-
amazed.
Shocked.
Start as early as y'all want.
Yeah, you
I don't
guys,
know.
we
I
can
mean-
start as early as.
yeah, what
as
do you
all.
suggest?
What do I suggest?
Oh, I
How
have a
about 8? How
suggestion.
about 8?
Well, I'm
An
just
hour
thinking,
earlier?
like, I mean, we
5
could,
a.m.?
we could advance it,
8
just,
a.m.
I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock?
8 a.m.?
I mean.
8 a.m.
I mean,
Does that work?
Great.
I'm okay with that.
I'm up at 6
Do
every
we have
day,
to,
so-
do we have any,
Michael, you gotta be here at 8 a.m.? There you go.
Jasmine, do we have any notification issues because of it changing the time on that? Is there a certain amount of time?
No,
that we
no,
have to
we
do?
will make sure that all of the state law
my alarm.
requirements are,
Okay,
is
good.
met.
So 8 o'clock?
Yeah. And, yeah, well, actually, Dave was stating that it's not gonna be much of a difference between it being 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. It's not much of a difference for the contractors. They could arrive and they could work on something else, so it doesn't necessarily have to be, it's not gonna make a difference of it being
What do you
a
want to
change
do?
that early.
Suzanne?
If Suzanne is saying earlier, I am all for earlier.
All right, how about Monday, January 5th at 8 a.m.?
It's once in a lifetime.
All right,
All right, so that's going to be a
Okay.
January 1st move, right?
Did we answer
And
all of the
Suzanne, to
issues?
circle back on your question, it's the first meeting in January is when the person takes office.
Okay.
So it specifies that in the charter.
all right. Anything else? You don't need anything else from us on that change, do you?
No.
Okay.
And, yeah, there's no requirement for a vote for that. Mayor, you can just make the official announcement and we'll push it out.
Absolutely, thank you.
And I'll just, if we're talking about date changes, I'd probably put on the radar that usually the one in February, that usually conflicts with that week off we
For
typically
school,
move
for
up as well.
families with
Yes.
kids in school.
So
Yeah,
we don't
sounds
have
good.
to do that this moment, but.
All right. Work session discussion item D, fiscal year 26 budget amendment, sprung structure for Kedron Aquatic Center. Chris?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm just happy to talk about anything other than wildlife, so, so I jumped at the opportunity. As you recall, several months ago, we talked about the bubble and the fact that the bubble was past its life. We're out of warranty by 2 years. Pretty much holding that thing together right now with duct tape and spit. And we got it up. So we're going to limp through this year, but that's probably it. And so we're at a point where we're going to have to make a decision on how we're going to go forward at Kedron. So y'all asked us to go forward and look at this sprung structure, which is a more permanent type enclosure. We have done that. The process has been a little more complicated than we originally thought because the existing grade beam that's there that supports the bubble is not sufficient to support the sprung structure. And so we had to do a little more engineering. We went out and found WM2A, which is another engineering firm that does structural work. They've taken a look and done a lot of field work and have come back to us. And at this point, what we're looking at is to do the structure and do all the other work that needs to be done at the pool. So this would essentially replace the tile, replace the piping, everything, which gets us where we need to be, really. This is work that's gonna have to be done, is about a $4.5 million project. Now, the bubble itself is around a $1.2 million deal. So the sprung structure is more expensive, but now that 1.2 doesn't include the retiling that has to be done to the pool, which there are, 6 layers of tile there now that need to come out, the old piping that we're going to upgrade, and the improvement of the grade beam. So it is a bigger project. So based on that $4.5 million, WM2A has given us a price of design. This is a lump sum price, so it won't change. So if the cost of the project exceeds the 4.5, their fee doesn't go up, of $247,500. That money would have to come from a budget amendment, which would have to come from reserves. And so fund balance. Let me see. The estimated life of the sprung structure is about 40 years. So, every 15 years we're replacing the bubble. This gets us where really for the rest of, well, certainly for the rest of my life, we'll never worry about this again. I don't know, I could last past 97, but I probably won't care either way. So what our options are: do nothing. We can do nothing and just go to a seasonal pool, no cover. That's certainly an option. Maybe not one we want to consider, but an option nonetheless. We could just replace the bubble with a new bubble and get another 15 years of life and spend around $1.2 million, but not address the tile issue and some of the other issues that are underground there. Or we can move ahead with the design work on moving to getting the sprung cover in place. So that's kind of it. Did I miss anything, guys?
A new bubble, they've upgraded the technology on the fabric. It would be a 20-year warranty instead of the 15, so.
And that's for which one? The sprung or that would be for the bubble? That's a 20-year warranty?
And that's even though we put it up and take it down every year.
Correct. And this would also, all the concrete work that needs to be redone out, also the pool deck, that would also get changed out to new concrete. We make sure that, like Chris said, the grade beam was fine and that all of our cathotics were still in order. So, just making sure that we got all our I's dotted and our T's crossed on this.
It's just been a while since we've discussed this. Can you tell me a little bit about the sprung structure? Is it up year round? Is it something that goes up and down? Is it?
Year round.
Yes. And there's tons of different options that we could, add to this. And I think we added quite a, not a lot, but we're kind of middle of the road on this. It will be a permanent structure that stays up year round. It does have walls and a roof, and it is, a shaped building. It has a translucent ceiling on it, so natural sunlight will be able to pass through. It won't be clear like looking up into the blue and seeing the clouds, but you will be able to see sunlight come through. There are some garage doors that will be on the sides that will be able to be opened up so that you will have access to open those doors, in the spring and fall, so that you can go out there and get the natural air to circulate through as well. Plus there will, with a little bit of an expanded deck, we could also have outdoor areas for lounge chairs as well.
Expanded deck means what? More concrete, like change the footprint of
Yeah, slightly, not much.
Do we get enough to have bleachers for grandparents to watch events and things like that? I mean, we can't fit anybody right now.
Yeah, I mean.
Not so much?
We could look into that.
No, I'm just asking
Yeah,
what's
no.
included.
It's just currently what we've got with a little bit, we were adding a little bit of concrete out front on the parking lot side just to have a little bit larger of a footprint area just for that.
Is that going to mean moving the fence that's on the front of there?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Being that it's going to be a year-round facility, HVAC is going to be a part of this $4.5 million, a complete HVAC system. Okay.
And then how long would this project take, and what's the best time to do it?
So the structure itself takes about 2 to 3 months to actually get everything shipped to us and get it installed. Everything else would kind of last going into that, as far as the redoing of the pool and the deck work and all that. I would say you're probably looking at 10 months to a year on this, realistically on this project.
And during that time, the pool is gonna be completely shut down. I mean, obviously, if we're ripping the tile out of the pool, it's empty, it's not usable.
Correct.
Are both pools in the same situation, needing the same kind of work?
Yes.
With regard to the decking and all the equipment and the tile work?
Yes.
I have a question on the engineering materials that are going to be used for the structure.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're dealing with a chlorinated pool, there's always the evaporation situation where that's going to cause a potential of rust if we're using metallic compounds in the structure. Can you explain what's going to be the structure? What type of materials are we going to have so that we don't have what I've seen in hundreds of pools where there's rust on all over when you're looking straight up at the beams and stuff? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, most everything that they were going to use on this structure was going to be stainless or aluminum, so that it would prevent as much of that rusting as we could. Because I've gone to other locations, and I've seen exactly what you're talking about with
Right.
steel beams and iron beams, the rust that goes on with those. So yes, the actual studs on this facility are aluminum and stainless steel, so that they will help prevent the corrosion as long as possible.
And the issue with stainless steel and chlorine is always stress corrosion cracking. And you've got to be careful, particularly at the bolt areas and the stress areas, because you'll get cracking there and you'll have a potential problem. So stainless steel is very good, but not when you get into stressed areas. So I don't know how they're going to address that. May have to do some stress release when they're bolting it all together.
And that's something that we're currently also having to deal with on the bubble as well. Our seam plates that connect the 3 sections of fabric together are connected with aluminum seam plates with stainless steel bolts. And we do have to replace those every couple of years, so
Yep.
yes, very well.
That is a good point. We will have to add that facility to our building maintenance
Yep.
repertoire and have to inspect it every year and do all that kind of stuff. So that is a good point. We'll have to increase our maintenance on.
Is this structure going to be a rectangular type structure over the pool, or is it going to be wider and longer and make it a square? Or how is it visually going to be when you look at it?
Generally, it will be slightly larger than what the footprint is. When I say slightly, I mean literally a couple of feet by a couple of feet.
Okay.
Length times width. But, it is a rectangular building that comes up, and it does have a curved roof that comes up into more of a point at the top. But it is a nice looking structure. So.
And we only get fresh air in by just opening the side doors at ground level. There's no skylight type things that we can open up, or is it just on the ground level?
There are some options that we could add to it if you want to.
Okay.
But yeah, we have looked at some, and, yes, the doors opening, will provide fresh air. The garage doors will provide fresh air. The HVAC system, will also bring fresh air into. It will definitely be a lot better than what we currently have with the bubble, so.
And it's a 40-year typical life on that?
Yes.
With good maintenance from engineering, maybe we can stretch that too, so.
And you won't have
Great.
to take it down, you won't have
I
to
won't be here.
mess with it twice a year.
Yeah, you just put it up and we're done with it.
40 years.
That's a pretty expensive price though, but I got it. But at the same time, it's better than having, putting the bubble up, and even if you're getting 15 years, you're still looking at doing it probably up to 3 times in that same life.
Yep.
So,
And one of the things we battle now is air quality inside the bubble.
yes.
And this actually gets us beyond that. So that's another improvement that we would see, is that the air quality issue would pretty much go away. And right now, we do battle air quality.
Well, the issue with that is chlorine promotes chloramines. And that's what you're smelling when you think you're smelling chlorine. You're not smelling chlorine, you're smelling chloramines. And those can be mitigated by changing the chemistry that you use in that water. You can use hydrogen peroxide and a different type of compound and not use chlorine at all for disinfection. But that's something down the road. Just to get rid of any kind of smell and odors in a enclosed area. That's the way the world is going, is away from chlorine.
So for our next meeting, we will see this on the agenda?
Yes.
And
Okay.
this will be, what will be presented to us is not $247,500 for design.
That'll be what that'll be what you're considering to
In-
vote on for
in-
this. This is to move forward with the design, with the
Design.
full design of the sprung structure.
Okay,
After the design, if you decide to move forward with that, that's really telling us that's where we're going. After that, we will bid it out. Once it's designed, we will bid it out. We'll come back with the bids, and that's when
okay.
you'll have the final vote to actually do it.
And how common is this sprung structure? Like, for example, when we did the pickleball, it was that post-tension concrete, that weighed in, that's unique, and there, I would imagine it's not completely common among installation vendors, construction and installation. How common is this sprung structure?
There are two sprung facilities close to us right now. One is in,
Jefferson?
well, I knew that one, the other one's somewhere in Atlanta.
Have you seen them? Have you gone to them?
Have not seen them yet, but we plan to take a trip.
Yeah, Dowerville?
So there are two
would
that are
love to
very
go.
close to us.
Okay.
Include me in that.
Yeah.
And Sprung, they build these facilities all over the world, actually. They're a Canadian company. But they do a lot of business in North America and the United States. And so they're pretty common.
Okay,
Well,
interesting.
and just as a reminder too, talking about the cost, this cost is not just for the sprung. It's for HVAC, it's for redoing the pools
Tile and
themselves,
concrete.
concrete.
You're basically moving up to a higher level of pool structure with this.
Yeah, that was
As opposed
my-
to just putting a bubble over it.
Sorry. Yeah, that was what I was thinking. I was like, besides the structure, is there a cost estimate for all the other work that
I
needs
think
to
this
be
is
done?
the total of it.
Yeah, this is the total for design. When we get to the point after design, we can break that down for you so you can see that this is the cost of removing the tile and retiling the pool. So yeah, we can give you a line item. We don't have it right now,
But
though.
the 4.5 to 5 is the approximation
that's
An
the-
of
estimate at this
everything.
point.
That's right.
Of
That is their
everything.
educated guess on what it's gonna cost to do the whole project. But they haven't broken it down to us by element.
Oh, so they're doing all of it.
Correct.
It's not out to different vendors.
Right.
Okay.
Council, any other questions?
I have one quick one. The amount of people that are not team-related or those type of things that use the facility. Obviously, we would hopefully get more people using it, some of our citizens using it, and maybe people from outside the area using it, other than the teams that come in and do all that work. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, we have had our aerobics classes do well, our water aerobics classes in the morning. They're great for therapeutics. They've done exceptionally well here lately. Our biggest problem is we don't have enough lane space because, we do have all these teams that are using the pool, and we're constantly having to rotate their days that they're allowed to practice so that we're allowing more citizens to use the facility. So, I mean, yes, an 8-lane pool is used constantly throughout the day. So, there is a need for this.
Good.
All right.
I
Thank
have
you.
two things, Mayor. One was with the shape of it. I don't know if it was mentioned, but the one big distinction between the bubble and what this will be is it will actually connect to the building. It'll connect directly to Kedron to the field house. So right now with the bubble, you have to walk outside in the cold and then go into the bubble. This will connect directly to the building. Yes. And then just going back to funding, if we talk about this 4.5 and 5 million, I know we're going to talk about this later, but in the memo I wrote too, the options, we have options for this. Bond, we talked about a potential facilities bond, reserves, pay cash for it completely, or a mix of both. So we have options on how we can accomplish this as well.
All right. Council, anything else? All
Thanks,
right.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Work session discussion, item E, fiscal year 26 budget amendment, PAC baseball safety netting project. Harold.
Good morning again. So, we have been working with Peachtree City Little League for about a year now. On our upper pinwheel, which is fields 5 through 8 for baseball, the current netting is starting to get old and starting to need some repair on it. So last year I spoke with the Little League president about what he wanted to see, because he was having some concerns over safety due to citizens and residents getting hit with foul balls coming from an adjacent field. So we started looking into what our best option was, and we got a bunch of quotes on different types of things. And was it an overhead netting that went over everything to cover, keep people safe while they're watching ball games? And, it was just an astronomical number for netting that we were going to have to replace every 5 years. So we ended up getting, Little League actually paid for a engineering firm to design a safety net that actually supports itself on 2 separate poles, not on the fences, and it has a cable that goes across the home plate area that is actually at a 45-degree angle that keeps foul balls from coming out into the crowd area. So we submitted this to 3 different construction companies.
Little League paid for the design?
Little League paid for the design.
Wow, okay.
And so Frontier came back with the lowest bid of $77,800 to do this, and that's to remove the current netting and putting the new poles and the new netting. And they were our lowest bid on this. So, and we're using TPD funds to fund this project.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Questions, council? Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Work session discussion item F, fiscal year 26 budget amendment and acceptance of donation for employee holiday luncheon. Dustin, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Council. I promise I have the right item this time. Staff received $3,000 from Charles Abbott Associates for a donation toward our annual employee holiday luncheon. We wanted to take a moment to briefly just thank them publicly and recognize them for this donation, as it's very appreciated by staff. While no action is needed today, a budget amendment will be brought forth, which increases the revenue for this and also goes toward appropriations for this event. And it'll be on consent agenda for your approval at next meeting.
Questions, council?
No, the holiday party is lots of fun.
Are we going to get invited to the holiday party?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good.
Is there a date for that?
I don't have the date yet, but I did send an email to HR to send out a calendar invite to council.
Isn't it usually like the first Friday in December?
It is, but I know we have our Christmas in the park, our hometown holidays that same day, so I'm not sure if it
Okay.
is the same.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Next item, work session discussion item G, fiscal year 25 budget amendment, housekeeping. Kelly Bush.
Good morning. This is an every year thing. We don't have the numbers yet, but we will have the budget amendment available for you on the next meeting to vote on. This is where we spread that savings that we do every year. It's just housekeeping, closing out the year for the audit.
Thank you very much. Item H, budget amendment carry forward.
This goes hand in hand. This is all of the things that we had budgeted in our fiscal year 25 that we either didn't receive yet or weren't able to complete that we carry forward into fiscal year 26. And we'll also have a detailed budget amendment for you the next meeting.
Thank you. Work session discussion item I, budget amendment Drake Pavilion permanent repair. Dave?
Yes, good morning again. Everybody's familiar with the kerfluffle with the Drake Pavilion wood issues. We, just to recap, we had closed it this year in April because of the significant deterioration that we found in the upper trusses. And then in June, we put temporary supports in place until we could get a permanent repair designed and out to bid for this. Well, we did that. We sent it out, sent the full repair design out to bid. We got 4 bids back, and we interviewed the 2 lowest bidders on this just to get their feel for whether they understood the full scope of work or not, and that seems to be working out well. So we're reviewing those now, and we should submit a recommendation for award at the next meeting. And it looks like the expected cost will be no more than $109,405. Were there any questions on this?
Council questions?
I have one, Madam Mayor. Will that quote, or does that quote of 109,405, is that a not-to-exceed price? Can we get that? If not, can we get a not-to-exceed this price?
Yes, that would be a lump sum, not to exceed.
Okay, not to exceed. That's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Work session discussion item J, Peachtree City Pilot Hunting Program. Suzanne Brown.
Yes, thank you. I put this item onto the agenda so that we could continue the discussion moving forward with our pilot hunting program, which doesn't last much longer, certainly not until the end of hunting season, which hunting season goes all the way through January 31st. So I'm kind of concerned that there are things that we could maybe add, and I've had several discussions with Chris with regard to this, and I'm sure he's happy that he's not having to make the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And so one of the things that I've focused on is, over the years, is how many deer we actually hit with our vehicles here in Peachtree City. And that really kind of is a big indicator of the need for the hunting program. In fiscal year 2024, or it's not fiscal year, I'm sorry, in calendar year 2024, 202 deer carcasses were picked up off the highway. I want to point out something. The fourth quarter statistic for 2024 was 101. So, and that's because the rut season is in November. And we're just facing into that at this point in time. It should start any day, any minute. And so, caution to all of the citizens, drive carefully. But, so controlling our deer population, the question is, what else can we do? I'm new to this, and this is not working.
You got it. You got it. It's going. One more time.
Dead battery. There we go. Okay, so we have a few options. We can expand the pilot program to more days per week for the remainder of the pilot program. We could continue the lottery nonstop through January the 31st. We could let city employees apply to hunt in January, which Chris thought might be a good idea. I don't know how many actual hunters we have. We may have, an option to fill some of the slots and maybe then fill it in with some of the other more avid hunters that we've had in the lottery, but that's always an option. Number 4 is to find out the cost of hiring a professional hunters who could come in out of season after January 31st. Our population of deer is pretty significant. The pilot program is really only working in Flat Creek, and when the DNR representative was here last year, which doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was last year. But one of the things that was brought to our attention is that we could hire people to come in and that they would be able to hunt, at night in areas all throughout the city and not during hunting season. So there's that option, but it's not going to be cheap or free. Whereas letting the hunters come in from, outside or inside of our population is definitely, free. The other option, number 5, is allow hunting on additional city property adjacent to private property on a case-by-case basis. I've suggested this before. I talked to Chris about it, and Chris told me yesterday, I think it was, that he's got the GIS people looking into it to see if there are legitimate options to do this on other city property where it would not put any kind of a danger with cart paths and on the city property.
I thought
And
we
we have-
had, if I may,
Yeah.
I thought we had decided upon the Flat Creek nature area because of that reason. Like that had the buffers that we need and the comfort zone distance between that area and paths. I thought that was why we concluded that Flat Creek was about the only place we had.
It was the easiest, I'm sorry. It was initially the easiest spot. There are other places where we could do 1 hunter or 2, but just not another place where we could do 8. And so that's why we chose Flat Creek initially. But there are some isolated places where we could do more, and I've talked to GIS, and they're working on identifying those parcels.
For instance, down in the Camp Creek area, there's some properties in there. And what I had suggested is private property owners whose property abuts city property could apply like on a case-by-case basis and then be told exactly how many feet into the city property they would be authorized to go ahead and hunt. And that would open up the ability to hunt in a wider area than just Flat Creek. Because obviously, taking deer out of Flat Creek doesn't help the deer population in Kedron Hills or along Robinson Road or Pine Gate or some of the other communities that were identified as, the greatest populations. Number 6 on here is establish a registry of hunters willing to hunt on residents' property who can be contacted by homeowners to reduce their individual deer population. This philosophy would be, we have a lot of hunters who we now have contact information with. We could invite them to write up a bio, give it to us, put it on file, and if somebody has property that they'd like to have some of their deer removed from their property, they could actually access the list by contacting, Chris, getting the list, and then reaching out individually to the hunters. So the city would kind of be allowing it and putting the information into the property owner's hands, but it would be an individual agreement between a property owner and a hunter to establish and let them, and we could set up some regulations on how that would work, but it is an option. So the biggest issue is, why do we need to expand the pilot program? So as of November 3rd, our pilot program resulted in 12 does and 1 buck, and I excuse my typo on bucks, it's 1 buck being harvested. Chris had expressed kind of what he thought was going to represent success, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but I know 10 was like your minimum for like, okay, it's working, but it's not working so well that we can call it a total success. So at the current rate, we may see close to 20 deer, because with the rut starting, we're hoping that more deer will be running around through the Flat Creek area, and that will enable hunters to, take more. We need to remove more than 200 to have a positive effect on the deer population that are getting hit by cars, because 202 deer, as I said before, were picked up in 2024. And already this year, we're at about 150. So if another 100 get killed between now and the end of the year, we're going to be on, exceeding the 202 number. So the last item on this slide is the pilot program is only affecting the number of deer in the Flat Creek Swamp area and not the areas of the city with the greatest number of interactions with cars. And we all had looked at the map when we discussed it last year. Robinson Road and some of the other areas are very big hotspots for deer carcasses. So the DNR wants us to have a successful program to control our deer population. And why? Because many communities have the same problem that we have. And Chris and I discussed this quite a bit. So we're tackling this issue with a hunting pilot program and discouraging citizens from feeding the deer. DNR wants to use us as an example for other areas experiencing the same deer issues. So we're kind of like leading the way, I guess. A slightly more aggressive program will prevent deer from dying of starvation during the winter, and the population reduction will slow the spread of disease. And that's something that's very big, because wasting disease is a big issue, and it's spreading. And the heavier your population is, the more the deer, little mini herds interact with other deer. And so if you can kind of control the population, then we can control the spread of disease. So why should we never feed the deer? This is the other issue. In addition to kind of culling the herd, we have a lot of people who are feeding the deer. So I got this from a Better Homes and Gardens article that consulted 3 experts, and they came up with this list. But contrary to what you might think, deer don't need extra food in the winter. They eat a high fiber diet in winter, which is twigs and bark, and they reduce their movement. They stay pretty sedentary. Number 2 is grains like corn are high in carbohydrates. If deer suddenly switch their diet to corn, they can get corn toxicity, which can kill them within hours. And a lot of people who put corn grain out have no clue that what they are doing could easily kill a deer. Number 3, artificial feeding puts them too close together, which spreads diseases through saliva, blood, urine, and feces. Number 4, it makes deer more aggressive to each other, your pets, and you. And we've seen deer go after people here in Peachtree City. There was a good video on Facebook last year about a deer chasing a woman with her dog. Number 5, it encourages twins and triplets. When you feed the deer and food is in great abundance, deer tend to have twins or triplets as opposed to a single birth. So your population really explodes when you have too many people feeding the deer. And number 6, feeders draw deer into concentrated herds in more populated areas where they're more prone to be hit by cars and eat your landscape plants. We're better off if we just don't feed them and let them go find their own food. Unfortunately, the other issue is ticks. We all know that ticks carry Lyme disease and alpha-gal, and the more the deer population functions among us, the greater the likelihood is that either our pets or our people are going to have tick problems. And we've heard from citizens who have had alpha-gal, who have had tick bites. Since moving here, I've had 3 ticks that I've had to pull off myself and 3 ticks that I've pulled off my dog. And that's just in 6 years. So actually less for the dog because I haven't had it for the full 6 years. So reducing and culling the herd, it does tend to, does tend to have twins or triplets when food is abundant. So if we limit the food, we can actually affect the population growth. It makes sense to stop feeding the deer to slow that herd growth. We cannot sterilize the deer or relocate them. It's easier to slow the growth of the herd by limiting the food supply so we have more single births. We can more aggressively cull the herd by encouraging hunting on private property and opening more city property for hunting in future years. So in summary, I'd like to discuss our options. We can incorporate several ideas right now for the current season as well as for next year. We all agreed that we should not pursue the feeding ban ordinance, but perhaps we might be able to find something a bit more acceptable that would have the same result. We can develop a questionnaire to gather information on hunters willing to hunt on our citizens' private property. If we establish a database over the next several months, then citizens can request the data, read the bios, and reach out to individual hunters that they want to interview to hunt on their property. And we can expand the location of city property available to hunters. So I think some of these things are things that we need to look at potentially during this hunting season, because hunting season doesn't end until January 31st, and I think in order to reach what Chris would define more likely to be a success, we might need to ramp it up just a little bit. So I'd like to know if anybody has, that's the end of the presentation.
So-
Does anybody have any questions or any kind of like discussion?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
I do too. Just right off the bat, can you put that last slide back up that you just had, the options? I mean, to me, we have a pilot program. Chris is up to here with pilot program. We heard him mention before, as long as it's not wildlife. You had me at hello. I think this is a very well-researched list of really good ideas, and that we have room to make some changes. But I also think right now we're 2 months into a 4-month program. Is that about right, roughly speaking?
No.
2 months into a
But
4-month.
when does the pilot program end, Chris?
Rusted
Tell me again.
November.
Yeah.
Oh, the pilot program
So
runs
we
to
only
the end of
got
November.
So we actually have all of December and
4
all of
weeks.
January.
So-
That's why I'm really kind of like,
I get it. Why does our pilot program not go through the season?
Right.
Yeah, we initially just had it run through the end of November. We've been looking at adding January as a bonus lottery month, so we can get another month in there, but we just cut it off at the end of November because we were told that that's when archery slowed down, was after Thanksgiving.
You mean you were told by the DNR, or we just
Yeah.
understand that?
No.
No, that's what we were told by our DNR and our the consultant that we
Meaning
used.
fewer and fewer hunters are interested in being out there. I would have no objection to, originally I was going to say, a pilot program is exactly for this reason. This is dead on what we should be talking about for the next season. I mean, a pilot program means, let's do the program, let's reflect and evaluate, how did it go, do we think it made a difference, and decide what changes we should make next time. That's
Yeah.
what pilot means.
And as Ms. Brown mentioned, we have been looking at doing a bonus hunt in January for city employees, and just letting the employees participate in that lottery, because we can manage that a little easier. And also letting them have access to the Greenbelt for a whole week rather than just a weekend. So that
At
way,
our designated areas.
at our designated areas.
Yeah.
That way they could scout the area, and we would allow them to
Yeah,
put
that's-
out, we would allow them to put out bait during that time, which we have
Good.
cleared with DNR.
I don't mind any of that. I don't mind that. That is
See-
to me a limited list of additional options.
Right.
And then again, we assess and we do it again next year. So what would those incorporated options be that you just said? You want to add January, Suzanne? What would
I
you
think,
like?
I think adding January is really a tremendous option because, especially if we get enough city employees who are willing to do it, maybe we can do city employees and their family members who may not necessarily live here in the city.
Well,
But like, look at,
The reason I came up with the city employee idea is because I've had so many of them tell me that, they don't necessarily live
Yeah.
inside the city limits, so they
Yeah.
didn't get preference in our first lottery round, because we gave all of our residents first preference. So this would give them a chance for just employees. I think we'd fill up the slots.
So January, more days, and city employees.
Yep.
Is that cool?
I think that's definitely a way to go. I think with that, we might actually be able to classify this as a successful pilot program that we can then look forward to expanding to some other areas over the years.
Yeah, Harold told me he wants to do it, and he's promised to take like 12 in a week.
Well, another thing to bring up is, of course, hunters really like to, they like to harvest a buck. It's bigger and more meat, etc. We were encouraging the removal of does. We can open that up, and because, removing a deer is removing a deer at this point, but the deer will be a lot more active over the next several weeks.
Yep.
And then for the does that are not impregnated in the first rut, there'll be a secondary rut about a month later.
Right.
So that would be into January. So there's going to be a lot of deer activity between now and the end of January. And I think, let the city employees do it. And perhaps maybe even let them bring a second person, a second hunter onto the property with them. There's some creative things that we could probably look at.
Per
Do the extra
best
days
practices.
And just,
Yeah. All right, does this need to come back to us or no?
I mean, I think it's a pilot program. I think we can tweak a pilot program as we go along, and I think this is just a tweak. So,
Okay.
So shall we just,
We're
Can
good.
I ask a
Based on
couple of questions
consensus?
before you
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
tweaking
Good.
stuff? Since
don't you rain on my parade?
Yeah,
I'm
here we
not going to
go.
rain on your parade.
Keep it short, Cliff.
No, I'm not going to keep it short. This is important because you're going to be opening it up to city employees, which I'm fully in favor of. But there's a vetting program. We want to make sure that they understand the safety issues of hunting, and particularly on our properties because of the liability kind of issues. I don't want them shooting anybody.
now, we would follow the same protocols that we
Okay,
had for
same
the regular
protocol.
hunt.
Good.
You have to have
Good.
a Georgia license, you have to have your tags, you have to go through our video orientation that we've done, you have to check in, you have to check out, you have to report your kills.
Excellent.
So all
Okay.
of that's in place.
I just needed to hear that for all of the city employees doing that. That's great. Thank you.
All right, that's a deal.
That works for me?
Thank you, Suzanne. Work session discussion item K, library skylight and canopy replacements and MRR grant with 50% match. Jill?
Good morning. So I'm here today to discuss our need for replacement of our skylights and the canopy that goes around the outside of the library leading over to City Hall. Those materials were installed, it's been 26 years now, and they're becoming brittle. And so we're concerned about leaks, and Dave can tell you a little bit more about their condition. But basically, as you know, we've been fortunate enough to receive state grants to do major repairs and renovations on our facility. And this year, we received a grant to replace our HVAC system, which is, the design is underway now, correct? And so we hope to be able to apply for another state grant to do this work next year. The legislature has been, has seen helping communities maintain their libraries as a good use of their tax dollars. And so I think it's a fantastic way for us to maintain our facility as well. If it's things that need to be done to maintain our library, and we can get, it's a 50% grant, matching grant, it's just a great way to do it. So anytime these funds are available, we like to see what needs to be done next at the library and try to get our name in the hopper for the budget that our state library agency, Georgia Public Library Service, try to get on their list with their application. That way it goes to the legislature in the next session, and if they approve it, which they have over the last 10 years or so, we get those funds and we're able to do important work at the library. So I'll let Dave tell you a little bit about the condition of the skylights.
Oh, we can see it. Are they original? That canopy is original? 26 years.
Yeah, exactly, over 20 years. And actually, I was thinking, next week, I will have been here 27 years. I've been here over half my life, right? I could use a major repair and renovation. I wish there was grant money available for that. But anyway, do you want to say anything? Dave says he'll put me on the list, yeah.
For renovation. Yes, you can see the condition. They're fading. They're fiberglass composite panels is what they are. And when we're up there doing maintenance, you can definitely see the deterioration. The fuzz is coming through, and so we feel it's a good idea to pursue replacing these before they start cracking and leaking. So
Wonderful. Do you need our help in contacting our legislative delegation?
No. Not really. They, as I said, we've had no issues over the last 10 years.
Perfect.
Getting these items on their budget and approved. So now, as you see, that we have the design costs. You should have received that. The total includes a 10% contingency, and the total for the entire project would be $748,000, $550,000. The grant, again, is a 50% match, and we would like to bring forth the official recommendation at the next council meeting.
Wonderful. Questions, council?
When is the information due to the legislature for putting on their docket?
You know, I don't know when GPLS submits it, but our portion, getting it approved, was due October 30th. But they are giving us an extension here to to get it through the process and get council's approval. So they know of our intent, and they know that we were coming here today to discuss it, and then it would be on the next agenda for approval. So.
I have a question. Is there any reason why we can't approve this right now?
No, ma'am, you all could approve it
can do it.
tonight.
We can approve it today?
Yeah.
I'll take a motion.
I don't have my agenda in front of me. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve, agenda item K, library skylight and canopy replacements, with a grant with a 50% match for fiscal year 27. I don't even know where to go with this.
You really.
And the total cost for the project to be $748,500 with a 50% match.
$550, $748,550,
I said that wrong, too.
yes.
There we go, sorry.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item L, Public Works, CAT 953D track loader repair. Jonathan?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. This item requires no action right now, but it will be on the consent agenda for the next meeting. So in March of 2025, we reached out to Yancey Cat to get kind of an estimate on what the 953 track loader, it's what we use at the compost site. It's our biggest dozer that we have, so that we could put it in the 26 budget. We had a rough estimate of 41,000. It has now been at Yancey Cat, completely disassembled. There were a couple other items that they found that needed to make sure it was in operation, equalizer bars, seals, and a couple other things, but the total for the repair is now 51,236, which we'll be asking for approval. We do have funds available in the machinery and equipment line item, but again, this was kind of an expected repair, normal wear and tear on the cat loader, so. Questions?
Questions, council? All right, thank you. Next item, M, 2006 capital improvement vehicle and equipment purchases. Jonathan?
Yeah, we'll make sure to get that fixed. I guess I didn't catch it, and there's a typo. This is actually the 2026 CIP improvements. So we'll get that fixed on the next council meeting. But this is similar. This is exactly what we did last year, where we came to council and we asked for approval to go ahead and purchase the vehicles and equipment following all state guidelines, state contracts, all laws and ordinances. And then we also stated in there, just like last year, if there's anything that exceeds any of the budgeted amounts in the CIP, that we would then bring that to council on an individual basis for approval. And we did this last year to speed up the purchase process with their windows and everything, PD getting their 10 cars that they have to order every year, and just making sure that we could get our orders in and receive them, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
I've got some
Questions? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Suzanne, I'll ask mine after.
Two that I'm confused about. One is
Okay.
the water truck,
Oh, gee,
which of course I focused on because it's $175,000. And the other is the boom bucket truck. Can you explain to me where they're being used, for what use, et cetera?
Okay, so both of those are public works items. The current bucket truck it was the only vehicle that was ever purchased used prior to Justin's time or my time, and it is never running. So when we have to go do pruning or trimming, we can't cut anything. I mean, it's down more than it's up. So that was a CIP item that was put into the budget during our budget talks through Public Works with Justin and everything. So that is a replacement for the current boom truck, so that we can continue to prune the past, prune around streetlights. We do all the streetlight prunings and all of that stuff.
And I believe we also, from you already kind of getting quotes and looking, the price is going to come in
It's going to come up. So currently, if everything works, there is one in existence. Typically, these are like fire trucks. You have to put in orders and they have to be built. We have found one in existence that meets our specs. They're willing to give us Sourcewell pricing on it. They also took off discounts because it is available, so it should come in right at $200,000. So it will be $60,000 less than what was originally budgeted for the build. The water truck is another item for Public Works. When we do sod landscaping projects, if there's no hydrant nearby, we need to get water there. We have a makeshift pressure washer tank that we can kind of pull out. It doesn't work very well, big tank on the back of a trailer. Additionally, when you're doing pass in hot weather, you need compaction of the rock, so you've got to get water to that rock to roll it in and get the compaction. We have nothing to accomplish that other than a makeshift pressure washer trailer. So there's multiple uses for that we could use. When we have The barricades, we have water barricades that we put out if we need to. We have to call the fire department to come fill them up because we have no way of filling those barricades up. So we have to get their fire engines out there to put water in the barricades. So that's really what that item is.
It's just shocking with the price tags.
I mean, the 953, all equipment like that gets pretty pricey. Even the 953 I mentioned, the repairs are $50,000, but a brand new one is $600,000 to $800,000 for that track loader. So.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Holland?
Yeah, you've got 2 more mowers, 2 more zero-turn mowers on there. And, you know, we just went through the budgeting the last month or so. Are there employees to be able to be put on those mowers, or are we just buying them or replacing some old
That's part
ones?
of
What's the story?
that's part of the cycle. They're kind of
These are
offset cycles.
So this
there's
is a replacement?
Yes, there's 2 for rec and 2 for or 2 for grounds, 2 for recreation,
Correct.
and we go through cycle periods. So we replace like 2 at a time instead of, you know, we're usually running 8 to 14 mowers, so we're not replacing, you know, coming to you and saying, hey, we need 10 mowers this year.
Okay, so this is not an addition, it's just a replacement?
There's a
Because
cycle
that wasn't
out.
clear. Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. Do we really need the drop-in salt sand spreader and snow plows? 2 of them?
You
I
know,
mean-
we brought, that was brought based after the last incident we had, right? You know, you had multiple residents calling about streets, residential streets. We don't have the capabilities, we barely can do the main thoroughfares with what we have. So that's really like, that's one of those things, if you have it, when something happens, great, you can address it. If you don't have it, you know,
Yeah. We had we had 2 snows last year with ice, and we had residents complain about not getting to their places or skidding or not being able to get out of, you know, drive on their roads, especially up in his area, up in Kedron with all the hills. It's I know you
I'm in
and
the
Claire from
flatland.
up north. Yeah, you can drive on that stuff. But I think it's one of those things that this will be a one-time purchase that
yeah, I mean,
we won't ever.
we would keep them. I
Ever
mean,
have
they'll
to really
probably,
buy again?
we'll probably keep those in stock and have them available for 10, 15 years. But again, it's one of those items, you don't need it till you need it. So,
This is also part of our lease purchase. So it'll be spread out over 5 years. You know, we always have one that drops off and one that picks up every year.
I know, but you
So
know,
it's not like
it's
you're
going to
putting
be
it out at one time.
it's going to be like as soon as we buy the stuff and we're prepared, it won't snow again for the next 10
Won't that be
years.
lovely?
Thank
Well,
you.
maybe that's a good reason. Yeah.
that's typically, you know,
How it works.
how it
Years when
works
it
with
does
those
have
items.
Really bad snow, we have.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Thanks very much,
Thank you.
Jonathan. Council staff topics. I'd like to start with a quick one. Council, what do you want to do about that wine bar ordinance? We heard from
Oh,
the
I had that.
gentleman.
I wrote that down on my list.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and ask staff?
I think
to
we
take a-
should. Yeah. See. I wrote.
We also received, council, another email that was shared from the Avenue about alcohol as well. Is that something that you all want us to address while we are addressing the wine bar
I would
as
think
well?
so.
Might as well if we're going to open the ordinance
Yep.
up for modification.
Well, the specific ask of the Avenue, which I think they've asked before, is for people within the Avenue to be able to have drinks to go, but not to go, like drinks to, you could take it out of the restaurant and walk around the Avenue with it, but not leave the Avenue itself.
Yeah, okay.
Wasn't there also a spa that asked something? I thought that's what you were referring to. There was a spa that had emailed us a while back where they
I
wanted.
don't
Anyways, maybe
recall.
I'll see if I can
Our
find it.
massage, if it offers massages, they're not allowed to serve alcohol, but
I don't think it was a
we do
massage.
have I don't remember the term exactly, hospitality section in our ordinance that allows if there's like a nail salon and they're able to serve champagne or, you know, some type of spa that does not include massages can actually provide alcohol as a hospitality. But I'm not familiar with that, but I'll look into it.
I think it was Woodhouse.
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 Okay. It's Woodhouse, but do you remember? Yeah, but I don't think I saw that. I'd have to look at that email. Maybe I wasn't a part of it, but our massage ordinance does not allow any location to
Okay.
sell or serve alcohol.
Oh, yeah, it
currently.
does
But-
say, I have found the email that says offering massage. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
All right, one more council staff topics. Trivia here, bit of trivia. Most people don't realize today is National Lawyer Day. So we have an appreciation for Ted Meeker for more than 20 years with Peachtree City. Let's hear it.
Could we get a picture with the mayor and council and Ted?
They told me this earlier, and I said it's also
Oh, all of
known
us?
as Pin the Tail on the Donkey Day.
Can I get everybody to take a step to my right, your left?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
Mr. Meeker, I understand you have a topic for council staff.
I do. When we created the Public Facilities Authority, we looked at legislation other jurisdictions had done. It's kind of got a wonky appointment process for the board members, where council members and sometimes their term on the PFA can extend beyond their term in office. What I was going to bring forward is a proposed legislative amendment to ask our local delegation that mirrors what we did with the Water and Sewer Authority, where the council members are ex officio members of the PFA board, and they just serve while they're members of council. As you know, any funding that is done by the PFA is always a city-related project, so it only makes sense that we have the current council members looking at it from both perspectives.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good.
Anybody else, council staff topics?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. Just in making sure everyone knows, I am a member of the American Legion here in the city. And one of the things that has been talked about, probably started by Frank DiStadio, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, was the rental cost of the facility that's being done, it's being used by the VFW and the American Legion at the Fred, located below the ticket office of the Fred. And they brought to my attention that the Georgia Code, Section 38-1-2, basically says that it's any political subdivision, of which we are, is to furnish free of charge a building, office, and meeting hall for the exclusive use of nationally recognized veterans organizations and their auxiliaries. The political subdivisions, which are us, can also provide heat, light, utilities, furniture, janitorial services at no cost to the organization. And this code allows veterans organizations and their auxiliaries to have access at all times to those facilities. And what I'm asking is, we've been charging, I believe, about $4,800 a year. And I think that maybe it might need a vote of council, and would request that this go onto the next agenda, that we would rescind that cost of $4,800 a year and make it free of charge for both the American Legion and the VFW at that location.
Yeah, fine by me.
The only thing I would ask that we just go ahead and do a new agreement with them and just change, because it's in the agreement.
Okay.
So what I would say the item would be is to approve a new agreement.
That's perfectly fine. I mean, whatever way you want to do it, that's appropriate.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. Any others?
Yeah, I have one more. You heard Keith Larson speak today about the changes that are needed for the micro mobility in the state of Georgia. And he's done a lot of work on this, and he's brought it forward to other locations like Fayetteville and Brooks and Woolsey and Tyrone. And he's asked me to speak about it. Basically, this micro mobility is going to determine the type of, what are the types of micromobility. The law as it stands now, which is called Title 40 in the state law, doesn't even recognize things like e-bikes. It doesn't recognize electric scooters. It doesn't electric skateboards and all of those types of devices, including it doesn't say anything about the size that can go on the road and the width and the length and those kinds of things. So what has been done is Keith has worked with others in the state and put together this new update of the law, of Section 40 of the law, Title 40 of the law. And he's put it in front of all of us here. We've all gotten an email on this. And what I'm suggesting is that, yeah, we need to do two things. We need to look at it to make sure it fits what we're doing, since we are the leader in the state for micromobility with our cart path system. We need to make sure that we're defining what they are, we're determining the speed that they can do on those cart paths. We can require safety equipment that's appropriate, particularly when you get to the e-bikes and those kinds of things. And then determine the operation of how you handle a shared path. That's what this new law talks about. And it enables the locales like us to actually do all of the laws, which means the police department can actually set up a speed limit on the cart paths, and they can enforce that, and they will have the ability of the law behind them. What's required of us as a council is to pass a resolution, which I have here has been drawn up, and it's basically a resolution which says we support this. And it's pretty typical of what we do. And I brought this up to the lawyer here, Ted, and he says he wants to really look it over a little bit before we do anything. But what I'd like to do is at least put it on for discussion, put it on the next agenda on the 20th of the month.
I'd like to suggest to you, Clint, that you put it on for potential action. And the reason for it is because time is of the essence with this, to get it into the hands of our legislators if it's going to get into the hopper for the legislative session that starts in January. And Josh Bonner specifically said he needs it before Thanksgiving. In fact, the sooner the better.
The sooner the better. And it's the same kind of thing as we've just done with the library. There's certain deadlines you've got to get onto the dockets of the legislature. And according to what we've been told, we need to get this thing hopefully completed before Thanksgiving so that they can go forward. What's going to be required of us is passing a resolution. We don't have to agree or disagree with what the law says. We'll let the lawyers and all of the legislature, talk about that during the time that it's brought up. But the resolution would be a support, along with the other places here in Fayette County, to make sure that we get it talked about this year and hopefully passed this year, because it gives us the authority then to control what goes on our cart paths and the speeds and all of that stuff.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Holland?
Nope, that's it.
Anything else, Ms. Brown?
In the interest of speed, I want to, I'll be
Is
interested.
this on the same topic?
No.
Oh, I think we're still on the same topic.
Oh.
I just want to mention a couple of things.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Today, we decided not to take action on the crabapple gate because we wanted our citizens to weigh in. I mean, to me, it looked like kind of a no-brainer, but we wanted to make sure that our citizens had an opportunity to weigh in, so we didn't take action on that. And now here we have a resolution that's pretty heavy to support a voluminous new state law that our citizens haven't weighed in on. So it isn't that I disagree with the substance of any of this, but I would really like to know that our citizens have had a chance to hear about it. What does our community want? What is our police department's opinion on this? What is Fayette Forward's opinion on this? Before we change state law in a way that has far-reaching implications for anyone in the state of Georgia using a highway, shared use path, sidewalk, boardwalk, or natural surface trail, I would like to know if GMA would be in support of that. Is that something they would advocate for? And I just think we have a lot of groundwork to do And I do not see the emergency of the timeline. I don't think that's how state law is made, when one person writes something up and then we all got to hurry up and pass a resolution. So I told this to Clint ahead of time. We talked about it yesterday. So, you know, if you want to put it on the council meeting agenda, of course. But I just want to be transparent up front that I think this is premature and not vetted by our citizens, and I'm not sure what problem we're trying to solve, and I'm just not in a position to support it at this time.
Oh, I would just say I would be more comfortable in being able to support this if I know that there was a tag meeting between now and then and we could get their input on it. Is there one?
Does
Do we
anybody
know?
know if there's a tag meeting between now and the 20th?
Yes.
Yes,
one
he
on the
says.
18th.
Okay. Certainly don't have a problem with TAG taking a look at this. I believe they've already done that over the past year. Is that right, Jonathan? I think they've taken a look at this type of thing on micromobility.
Yes, and not to spoil or take their thunder, but we currently have the new ordinance revision that they've been working on, kind of going through all the staff departments before it's all vetted and brought to y'all. But it addresses a lot of the ordinance that they did address a lot of these things as far as definitions of the devices. There are widths and classification, like they identify a lot of those things. Now, as far as speed, that would be a PD weigh in as far as changing state law to be able to regulate
Yeah, that's where this
speed.
goes into that, exactly. It's an enabling legislation to give it to us to be able to control those so that the police department can do what they need to do.
Right.
That's really the crux of this legislation.
And that, I can say that's not addressed in the ordinance.
Right, because that's
Right.
here, that's not a state law. This is state law stuff.
Right.
It's also my understanding that there are several other communities that have multi-use shared paths, et cetera. So we're not the only ones, but we're obviously the biggest one and the one that's been operating for the longest time. The lack of these particular measures that are addressed in the proposed legislation are some of the main reasons why our police department can't enforce the speed laws on the cart paths, et cetera. And I think for that reason and that reason alone, I really want to push this forward. We're not going to be the ones who determine what's the final measures in the law that gets written.
Right.
Our legislators are. So I think what gets proposed is probably going to be changed quite a bit from the point where, you know, Josh or whomever drops it in the hopper until it goes through the whole process of the, you know, the Georgia House and the Senate and goes to the governor's desk, et cetera. There'll be, you know, it may happen this year, it may not happen till next year. But if we don't actually put it in the hopper, we have no chance of getting anything that we can use. And I think it's really kind of critical that we encourage the process to move forward.
Ted, would you like to comment on the process, if there's anything that is appropriate for this?
You're just adopting a resolution in support of this proposed legislation.
Right.
What input you get before you guys decide on whether to adopt that resolution or not is up to you. And ultimately, if our local delegation is looking for us to take some action, it's for you guys to do.
Yep. They've asked
And
us
by
to.
the same token, that General Assembly can move forward with legislation without a resolution. I mean, they have that ability.
I think the resolution is just a matter of support of being
Yeah.
able to give a little bit of, the local people can take care of things like the speed on the cart paths and those kinds of things. And that's really what this is all
I
about.
imagine GMA and ACCG are gonna wanna look at it.
Yep.
'Cause this is a statewide, this isn't just a local law. This is one of statewide.
And
laws.
I'll be going to the member services at the GMA next week, and this is going to be one of the topics I'm going to bring up. So it's going to be on the agenda of the member services committee, which is next week for GMA. So I'll maybe have a little bit of more information on that when I get back from that trip. It'll be Wednesday next week.
I'll be there as well.
Are you coming too? Good. All right.
The other thing I'd like to say is, you know, I definitely would love to hear what the Transportation Advisory Group has to say, but ultimately the decision is ours, and I think before TAG existed, we were the ones making the decisions. So I think in this particular case, they're not any more expert on this than we are. This is all proposed new legislation, so we got elected here to serve the city, and I think it serves the city to make it safer on the cart paths. So,
All right, Ms. Johnson, did you want to weigh in on this topic? or no?
Just on a technicality, because I think Councilwoman Brown suggested that it be put on the agenda for an actionable item, but that I didn't hear you make any changes to that. And right now, you just said for discussion. So if you do want to change it, I would
Yeah,
suggest.
can you collaborate? You would elaborate a little bit more? You
put it
wanted
on
me,
as a new agenda
As a
item.
new agenda item?
Yeah, because
Yes.
before, which would be an actionable item. Right now, you said for discussion.
Okay, well, I think it should be an actionable item, but it may take us a little bit of discussion time on the 20th.
Yeah,
To
right.
get through that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know the mayor's points are legitimate, and I think we ought to be having a TAG take a look at this. No question in my mind about that. But I do want to at least make sure that we've addressed the issue of timing of the essence with our legislative people here in this area, and get it to them in an appropriate amount of time for them to get it on the docket this year. That's really was the reason for a little bit of push on this.
Or not, or not. Or we vet it through our citizens, and we vet it through GMA, and we go through proper channels. I just got this, a few days ago. It was written by one person, and that's valid. It's a very, very smart, knowledgeable person I have tremendous respect for, but generally, that isn't how we do that. But that's okay. We can put it on the agenda.
Mayor and council, I just want to remind you, your ordinance does not require you all to vote or make a decision on adding the item to the agenda.
Sure.
Councilman Holland would just need to submit the information by the 13th by noon in order to have the item added on the agenda, and at that time, he could advise where he would like it to be.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thanks for that heads up,
Yeah.
Jasmine, appreciate it.
And I just want to clarify as well, I think you are all in agreement that you want, the TAG does meet before the next meeting, they meet on the 18th, that you all want them to look at it.
I think that's a very interesting question, because clearly they're already busy, and they have priorities that they're working on already. I don't know how it would be that one person brings something forward, and now this is TAG's responsibility. I think we actually, from what I've heard, we've got quite a bit of this already under discussion, and I'd love to hear more about what they already have on their agenda.
I mean, we rewrote the ordinance, so that was their big push. They're done with that. My only concern, I would wholeheartedly take it to them and let them look at it. I just don't know if I would have anything back by that council meeting from,
Sure.
for them to review on the 18th and then have that Thursday for city council as far as.
Point well taken, yeah.
Can we send it to them now, everybody, so that they can review it? I mean, it's,
I can. Again, the committee's volunteer. I will try to see if they can review it and have something by that meeting or have some points of discussion. We can certainly send that to them.
Again, I fail to feel the same sense of urgency. I don't think that a new state law that affects
It's not new, it's not new, it's an
I have the
update.
floor. A new state law with implications for everyone in the state of Georgia using a highway, path, sidewalk, boardwalk, or natural service trail. I don't think that gets changed on a hurry-up. I think it gets changed when our citizens come forward and weigh in, and we have a process for things like these. So as far as the hurry-up, I'm not feeling it. If they have time, but I think our TAG group already has priorities, and they're working diligently, and they're doing a good job, and they're doing what we've asked them to do.
And I can go ahead if council wants and send this out today to them and let them know that y'all would like them to take a look at it
Sure.
and review it.
I think the
Good.
sooner they get it, the more likely they are to read it and
Okay.
be able to discuss
All right.
it. So that would,
No, no. All right, any other council staff any other discussion on that topic? Any other council staff topics?
Oh, I just have an announcement. We have our last food truck Thursday of the year today, down at parking lot of Drake.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
No.
All right, Ted, do we have executive session?
We do not.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.